Welcome everyone, good morning to all of the tank players, good evening to all of our healers, and also good afternoon to all of the ranged DPS. The many DPS can go fuck themselves for today. What we have for today is an update on which are the best primordial stones to use so far. I thought it was a reasonable thing to do because Blizzard has gone through quite a few days of hotfixing, quite a few days of buffing or nerfing a few of these stones. So now that we have almost gone through the first week of patch 10.0.7, we are taking a look at how things have been settling when it comes to choosing to use this new ring and which are the choices for the stones in the ring to use. We will see that the choices are going to be quite narrow, however, that we're going to be having more or less a choice around 5 to 6 different primordial stones to use when it comes to doing damage, and also even fewer when it comes to healers and the gems to use when you want to heal more, essentially. So when it comes to the healers, when it comes to the choices of the healers, if they are interested in healing more, you pretty much have 3 choices only, so you don't have to really just decide too much, because you have the Wild Spirit Stone, the Exuding Steam Stone, and the Deluging Water Stones. These are the 3 stones used by basically all the healers. So if you were going for healing more, then these are the gems you're trying to look for. When you go to the vendor, if you're trying to fish for one of these from the stone vendor, the Wild Spirit Stone you can get from the Condensed Nature Magic purchase, and then the other 2, both of the Steam and the Exuding one, are from the Condensed Frost Magic. There was a cheese up until Blizzard hotfixed it. There was a cheese which gave you even more healing because of the Wind Spirit Stone, which stacked extra speed for you, and because the stacking extra speed was a nature effect, the Wild Spirit Stone, which procs from nature effect, would constantly proc the healing because of your speed that kept stacking. But Blizzard hotfixed this rather quickly, so now these 3 gems are pretty much the only 3 options for all healers if they want to use this ring primarily for healing. So this is gonna be generally a choice for the raid. For raid healing, basically. When it comes to the damage choices of healers, these are going to be choices more in line with the rest of the specs trying to use gems for damage, more similar to tanks and more similar to DPS. So let's go over the tanks now, because tanks don't really care too much apparently about defensives. All of those primordial stones which can give you absorb shields, they can give you extra healing. Most of the tanks are not really bothered about that. They're more interested in doing more damage, in particular in doing more AoE damage. When we are talking about doing more damage, there is a combo that is being used by the majority of the specs, regardless of the role. Many DPS and then tanks and then healers go for this type of combo, which is the combo of the Prophetic Twilight Stone and the Desirous Bloodstone. Because the Desirous Bloodstone is doing both damage to the enemy and healing to yourself, the Prophetic Twilight Stone is very good to pair with this other stone, because the Prophetic Twilight Stone reads that damaging effects from your primordial stones are going to trigger one of your healing effects and vice versa. But the Desirous Bloodstone has both of these effects, which means that if the healing of the Bloodstone procs, you're also doing damage. And if the Prophetic Twilight Stone procs the Bloodstone and does healing again, it's also going to be doing damage again, because the Desirous Bloodstone is doing both at the same time. So that is one of the more used combos, which roughly 80+% of specs are going for. So generally it's a quite safe pick regardless of the role. If you're trying to go for more damage, that is a quite solid pickup when it comes to the stones. Then what you are left with as the third option to pair together with this combo is usually one of the more popular picks right now is the Storm Infused Stone, which is a crit-based stone, which is going to be doing damage to 3 enemies. This is something that is being taken by quite a lot of specs. Of course, the more crit you have, the more likely it is you're going to keep it proccing as much as it can. Many of the specs are going for this combo and for this Storm Infused Stone. Pretty much all of the Shaman specs, all of the Rogue specs, all of the Priest specs, all of the Paladin specs are going for this gem choice. The mages as well are going for this Storm Stone pick for their damage, in particular in Mythic Plus, because of course when we talk about AoE damage, generally that's what we are thinking about, Mythic Plus. So those would be what you would consider as the S tier stones. The wild, exuding, and deluging when it comes to healers, if they are, interested in healing more, and then the prophetic, Decerus, and storm when it comes to doing damage, to doing AoE damage. Those are the most picked, the most popular primordial stones so far. You then have the lower tier, if these were the S tier, then you have the A tier of gems, which are used a few times. Now and again, a few specs are picking these as an extra option. One is the Humming Arcane Stone. This is the one that is based on doing magic damage. So of course, that's pretty much limited to only specs that can do magic damage. So by default, it's going to have less specs able to proc this. Another one that's being taken, but not nearly as much, is the Pestilent Plague Stone, which is the dot spreading, the AIDS stone for doing damage. It does technically have the highest theoretical DPS of the other stones in terms of AoE, but that's assuming it spreads quite early in the pool in Mythic Plus, for example, and the enemies can actually live the full duration of the dots of the stone. So it looks like not too many players are putting too much faith in this, and they would rather just go for more instant damage stones. So this Pestilent Stone is not taken nearly as much when it comes to AoE damage choices for these primordial stones. And then the last choice of the more used stones, but not nearly as much as the one in the so-called S tier, would be the Freezing Ice Stone. This one is a bit more on a focus on single target, of course. This is also way more taken whenever you are in the raid, because of course doing damage to a single target becomes much more relevant and much more important in raid encounters, but can still have its uses in Mythic Plus. This one, since it only targets one enemy and doesn't spread its damage to multiple enemies, it has a higher base damage, it does more damage to one target, so usually it's one of the choices if you're trying to go for single target. That is usually being swapped around with the Storm Infused Stone. You take the Storm Stone to hit 3 enemies in Mythic Plus in multiple target fights, and then you take the Freezing Ice Stone when it comes to doing single target damage. That's the main choices when it comes to stones so far that most specs are going for. So overall, out of the 24 available primordial stones, pretty much we are on a 8 number of used and rather popular stones. So about a third, basically 33% of these stones are seeing play right now in this first week of the patch. Of course, we will see in the future just how Blizzard will continue to tune these stones, and also if they will continue to become relevant in 10.1. Blizzard has already pointed out that these stones were intended to be in the ring and be powerful enough to contend with the equivalent of heroic gear of the next season. So being able to have a good setup for this Onyx Annulet coming into the next season might be relevant in the future. So that is, for the moment, what players are going at with the choices for their 3 slots in this new ring in patch 10.0.7. So this was the recap for today of what to use in your Onyx Annulet and what most players are going for their Onyx Annulet so far. I am going to now leave you to the rest of the worst day of the week on this Monday. We are, of course, saying our goodbyes by thanking all of the Patreon supporters for the contribution and the help to the growth of the channel. You can still support, of course, with completely free ways, like liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself, and also further free ways, like following me over on Twitter down at this link, as well as following me over on my stream on Twitch. So with this out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys soon, likely tomorrow. And in the meantime, I hope they don't become too powerful and I don't have to keep playing with this deep into Season 2, please.